So it's 2023. You're looking to try a new game. You're thinking about maybe Deadside. You should play this game, except for this one thing. So my experiences with this game has been largely favorable. I think I could recommend this game, but again, I have to warn against this one thing that for some people, it's just a deal breaker. It's too big of an issue. Um, but let me give you my overall take. So basically, the way I think of Deadside is Rust for adults. And what is adult about this game is a few things. It has a realistic gameplay or realistic gunplay. The guns seem to, instead of like having a randomized sort of spray, the bullets mostly go where the crosshairs are, but the crosshairs jump across the screen. So as you shoot, the crosshairs will move. You need to control the recoil. The recoil itself is a bit randomized, so it's not so easy to through skill control it. Although certainly it will help a lot if you know the recoil pattern. As much as it's randomized, the guns do have somewhat of a there's a degree to which their recoil is predictable. It's not fully predictable, but once you know what is predictable about each gun's recoil, that will help a lot with your spray. But at the same time, as is realistic, spraying is not always the best way to go. Burst fire can be the best way. Tap fire even at times for certain guns. But yeah, the gunplay does seem to work fairly in a realistic way, relying more on the inputs of the player to make the guns work properly than the gun itself. And on top of that, the ballistics are fairly realistic and map on well to real life ballistics of guns. There is a travel time, although it's barely noticeable. The maximum range you can shoot someone from is about 400 meters. After which the player starts to de-render. It might not de-render exactly at 400 meter, but if a player is running away from you or in a vehicle moving away from you, they can appear on your screen a bit past 400 meter, 420, maybe 430 even, depending on their speed. But yeah, that's sort of like the maximum range of the fights is about 400 meters for all intents and purposes. And anyone that knows real life gun lethal ranges knows that guns are lethal far beyond 400 meters, especially the longer rifles. So what that means is the degree to which bullets drop is very minimal, to the point where some of the supposed best content creators for the game, and really there's only one, they could have sworn there was no bullet drop, and they were on record for stating as such in their videos. But there is bullet drop. It's more noticeable with some guns than others. Particularly the Mosin seems to have more bullet drop than other weapons. But yeah, it seems to map on well to real life ballistics, which is nice. The other thing that's sort of realistic about the guns is the way they sound. Particularly the sniper rifles. I very much appreciate the way they sound, and having some experience shooting hunting rifles, I know that it's a bit nostalgic the way the Mosin sounds in the game, and how that sounds like the 270 I used to shoot and the 308 I used to shoot. It's got that pop, that very, very loud, distinctive pop to it, and I love it. The way how realistic the ballistics is in the gunplay, this game could almost be like a hunting simulator. It reminds me very much of those kinds of games too at times, but you're not really hunting in this game. Although you can now. There's these ducks that you can shoot, which you can actually butcher and cook up, and so there is a kind of a hunting in the game, and there's actually supposedly plans for other game to be added to it. So we may see deer and other things in the future, which would be great. The graphics themselves are, again, follow that same theme of realism. They have this gritty sort of realistic feel to them. At first, it can almost seem the graphics can almost seem janky, but it's more the grittiness of them that makes them seem that way. Yeah. One of the other things that have less to do with the gunplay and the graphics or anything like that that makes it for adults is they come up with a brilliant method to do away with offline rating. So the way they handle rating in this game is when you die, you have a chance to drop a raid token. If someone loots you after you've dropped one of those tokens, they can activate it. And when they activate it, your base becomes raidable. The walls become damageable by explosives for 1 hour exactly. And after which time your walls can no longer be damaged. Your boxes in your base are no longer lootable. Prior to the boxes no longer being lootable, anybody can just go up to them and open them and take stuff out of. But before that, you could actually have boxes out in the open and people can't open them no matter what until your base is raidable. So, yeah, that's great for adults and people with lives and jobs and things like that. Not having to worry about your base getting raided while you're sleeping or at work or something like that. That is a very big plus for a lot of adults. Yet, for whatever reason, and I have my ideas why, still many young people play this game, like including very young people, like 13, 14, 15 years old. I encounter many kids around that age in the discords for community servers and other Deadside related discords. It's such that I ask myself, why are there so many kids playing this game? And my best ideas so far are that the game is far less punishing than Rust, and that is due to there's far less farming needed, and there's far less game knowledge required to actually, succeed or just survive. For example, in Rust, you need to sort of like understand a more complicated base building system that incorporates many different strategies for keeping your base safe and not making it so easy for people to break in and steal it on you. And of course, the ability to steal a base is very punishing in and of itself, and that's something that Deadside does not have to. You don't have to worry about with Deadside. Another thing that I think is appealing to kids is it's quite a bit easier to get into the game and come up. And what I mean by come up is, obtain basically end game gear or gear that is good enough that you can compete with people who are in the absolute best of the best. So, for example, you could loot some military scav, they call them, which is just like the name for the AI or the bots in the game. And you would have like some kind of AK or maybe a Mosin, which is like a sniper rifle, and you'd have some basic clothes, maybe a backpack or something off of them. And basically, you have now in your hands what you need to really kill any player. Provided you outplay them just a little bit, you get to drop on them for a split second, you can kill them with those guns very easily. Now you're not going to out trade the best geared players. You're not going to see them at the same time as they see you and win that fight. But you actually still might if you land headshots or you hit more of your shots than they hit. There's still ways that you're going to be able to win that. So the differences between the actual very best gear and people who just pick up this random shit from from the AI is not huge. But what is huge about those differences is the cost, because this AI loot is so easy to come by and is basically for free. You can just pick it up off these things. Whereas like the best armor and the best guns are going to cost something. Buying it either from like the trader or spending time going around to different loot sites in order to get the best stuff. They all come at a cost. Other positives are, well, really, I can think of only one other positive, which is cheating doesn't seem to be an issue in this game. And this is something that was a big worry for me early on, and I was very reluctant to play on an official server because I thought this is the kind of game where cheating is very punishing. Like, if someone's cheating in this game and they kill you, they're taking all your loot. You drop everything. So, and I, from past experiences, as other people would likely be able to relate, I've noticed that on official servers in any game, that's where the cheating is rampant. But since I've been playing on official servers, I have noticed actually zero cheating, which is like mind blowing to me. I thought I would at least encounter some, but I have encountered like zero cheating, and that is a great thing, and needs to not just get glossed over. I've asked other people who are more experienced with officials and they get just the game in general, and they say they have not really encountered any cheating either. So that's a pretty big deal. And that about covers it for the positives. The problems with the game are these, and the last one I'll mention is the biggest thing, and is a deal breaker for some people, as I mentioned earlier. But one of the bigger problems, though, is this reload bug. So I noticed that at times when I reload a weapon and then I go to shoot it, all of a sudden the reloaded weapon will say it has nothing in the magazine. And then you're left just with your dick in your hand, like, probably about to die. So that's a big issue. Another one was when you're in your own base, or any base really, where you're able to close the doors or open them. If you're too close to the doorway, when you close the door, you can get pushed into the frame of the door, and basically you get glitched in there and you're stuck. And the only way out is to either kill yourself or log out of the game. But when you log back in, the way the game resolves those situations is you'll be teleported somewhere in the middle of nowhere, far away from where you were, but unstuck. So that's an issue. Another issue is there are ways to undermesh loot boxes. So the kinds of boxes you can put on in your base that become raidable when your base is raidable, you can actually put those inside of like large rocks. And how people do this, although I've never done it myself, is they use like gate doorways or doors to push them into the rock, and then once they're in the rock, they're able to place their boxes, and they can kind of like get the loot in there when they need to, or get loot out of it using various methods. But they will never have to worry about loot being taken out of their boxes, because only the base owner will be able to go into those rocks, because only the base owner can open the doors that allow you to get pushed into the rocks. So that's a thing. That's a pretty big thing too, especially on official servers. So like private servers can have rules against this. Private servers have their own list of negatives, but yeah, that's something that I think if they were to address and fix that, that would be a huge plus for playing on official servers. And all the big clans use those sorts of undermeshing, exploits in order to protect their best shit. And all that does is it makes it so like the biggest clans never get raided, because who wants to try to raid a base where even if you shit on everybody that you're trying to fight against, you're still not getting loot out of it. So that does hurt the game a lot, and I think they should make that a top priority to fix that. There's also, for the chat, there's no profanity filter. So you're going to see lots of N words, R words, F words, everything, and there's nothing you can do about it. That makes it so that it's not appropriate for younger people, definitely. Maybe should have put that in the Rust for Adults category, but that is a thing. So there's no profanity filter. Private servers may police the chat, and I know they do to some degree. At least some of them do. So that's a consideration if that's important to you. The second last complaint I have about the game, this is no surprise though, it's a dead game. So there's really not really anybody playing this game. It's the server maxes out at like 50 people. There's one or two servers that maybe get that busy. Maybe a couple more than one or two, maybe 3 or 4. It seems like there'll be a popular private server and maybe another private server that's close to it. And then there'll be like one official server in each region that gets pretty popular. So, for example, you'll have NA or Europe or Asia or something like that. And they'll all have their own kind of like most popular official server. But the rest of them have far less than that. And there's a lot of servers with, less than 10 people playing on it. So it's not a big game. Like especially if you're a content creator, this is not really a very sort of profitable game to focus on. And as far as content creators go, there's really only one that I can think of that I ever noticed. So that's an issue too. Not a big variety of content creators there, and if you're a content creator yourself, it's not much of a game to want to invest your brand in. But yeah, so that brings me to the last big problem, and this is a huge one. I've seen people encounter this problem and immediately rage quit and look for another game to play. It's been a source of major frustration for myself, and it's what's called the ghost mag. That's what the players of the game call it. So what happens with the ghost mag is you won't know you have it. It's almost like having a random just bug in your gun or something wrong with your gun, where you will shoot and you will hear yourself shoot and you will see the bullets go out of the gun and hit the target, and you'll see the bullets in your clip deplete as you shoot, but in reality you're not shooting. You're actually not shooting. The other players watching you will not hear any shots being fired. They will not see anything come out of your gun. You will do no damage to anybody or anything. And, that could be an issue, So you can have like a really important moment in a fight and, really need every bullet to count. And you will have no clue as to why the guys that you're drilling are not dying. And then you will die and you will lose your shit. Which, is a massive, massive problem. And it's so big that if the people at Deadside aren't focusing on this as their number one priority, they should be fired immediately, because this is just that bad. And not just bad as far as I'm concerned, but it's that bad as far as anybody I've talked to about it in the community. It makes it so it's almost one of those things that makes the game unplayable. And it would make the game unplayable if it occurred a bit more frequently than it does, or seems to happen. It's a really, really, really bad bug to have in a game. They need to fix that immediately. So for some people hearing this, they'll automatically think that makes this game completely uncompetitive. It has no chance of being competitive while this is the case. And they would not even want to play the game. Other people are thinking about or have already quit the game because of it. Um, they really got to focus on this, and I hope they do. And if they do fix this bug, um, I'll definitely update in the description of this video that it's been fixed, which would definitely change my overall rating of the game. But again, I like the game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Uh, I don't see my fun really being lessened um, anytime soon. So yeah, fix the ghost mag, and I think you got yourself and a couple other things. Fix the undermeshing of boxes. The other things, not nearly as big of issues, but still pretty important. You do those things, and you got yourself, I think, a really big winner. That's a true rust killer. I think this game could potentially really be like the number one game of its type. Um, you know, obviously, if they fix those things I mentioned, but there's a couple other things that they could change that would really make it a true contender for number one, and that would be if their servers could accommodate more players. Obviously, right? Rust servers can accommodate hundreds of players. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that with this game. On top of that, once you put quite a few hours into the game, the map can get pretty stale, as it does in every game. So if they had, I don't think they should necessarily try to build different maps, because any map that they build that's a static map that doesn't change, it's going to get stale because it doesn't change, right? And it's just a matter of a few hours before players every inch of the map, and it becomes boring to them. So take another page from Rust. Have a map that's randomized. Like have some kind of randomization of a map that keeps changing every week or something like that, or every month or something along those lines. That would be a big deal. You do those two things, fix those bugs that are a huge problem, and I think it could be number one.